Can you hear me? Hello, goodbye. Greetings, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome back to the stream or the video, whatever format it's in when you're watching this. As usual, it's hot, so the background noise, if it's picking up, is either the computer fan or the air conditioner. But there we go. I was sitting honestly, I was sitting in here, doing stuff at, 2 this morning, and I was sweating because it was so hot. That's the level of, heat wave we're dealing with here. Not so much a heat wave as, usual, but there we go. Speaking of, yeah, it's 91 right now, I think. Yeah, it's 91 right now, so that's something. And yet I still have to drink hot tea because jaw stuff. It's better, but helps. Also wasn't too bad for the heat, honestly. Alright. So, as you can see from yonder bit over here, we're working on chapters 11 and 12 in Dawn of the Forest. I'm just noticing that the trigger warning bit is still up there, because, didn't remember to turn it off momentarily after I finished editing it, but, yeah. Richard, being a super creep, features prominently in... It's 12, right? Yeah. Yeah, he's not really there in 11, but he's, there in 12, so, yeah. That'll come back later. Still hot tea because reasons. Green tea. Should be self-explanatory. I'm spitting it everywhere. Alright, okay, one sec. Oh, yeah. Fair point, though, honestly. Also, I haven't posted anything, for this little buddy yet. But, pockets, and they have buttons, and look at that. He needs shoes, though. And, ears and the tail and all the rest of it, and hair and stuff. But, yeah. And I had a brainwave to do some overalls, so, that's what the, fidget toy of the day is gonna be. Also, I figured out a new way to do little pockets, so you don't have to do, a tiny swatch that you sew on to stuff, and it was cool, and I did an experiment, and it worked, and yay. This is a little pocket. So, yeah, anyway. That's that. Yeah, Richard is super creeping all over the place in 12 and 13. He really is. He so is. Okay. Alright. As a thing. Crafts. I have a little fidget toy. I mean, it's either that or the cube over there, and I've noticed that I can zone out into whatever I'm actually doing more if I do something like this, which is interesting. Not out of the realm of like understandable, but like interesting, you know? Okay, so I've read through 13. I remember the plot points for at least the first part of 14. So, do we want to save like the rest of the story for next time? Or do we want to discuss like 13 and like a bit of the resolution bits for 14 today? Because I know 12 and 13, like 13 is pretty heavy with the fire stuff. So wanting to get some input on that one before we just dive into it. Ah. Like the only thing that I've made with this is the pair of pants and like kind of almost 2 legs of overalls, and it's flat now. Let's discuss to where you're up to and finish it for next time. Okay, I can do that. I can do that. All right. In that case, let me just change. Feel like lumping it together will result in more glossing over of triggering content. Okay. Just so that you guys are alright. It's interesting. Like, it's not an issue for me personally, but because I have friends that I know have issues with certain things, when it comes up, I have, like, because I'm more aware of it, it's like more of a thing. So, just, yeah. As of right now, the super creep warning is the only one up there. But we'll revisit that as we get through. So yeah. If at any point anyone needs to click off for a bit or for the duration, that's fine. Fully understandable. But yeah. So before we dive into it, anyone have like observations, general query things that you want to address for this round, or what have you? And you know, as as has been the case for the last like couple weeks at least, I continued slash improved, I suppose, general physical well-being, brought to you by dandelion tea and turmeric, because like I was taking Tylenol for a week, and I was taking Pamprin, and then I remembered that I had turmeric capsules, and that tends to work better. I just can't take it like all day every day. So, yeah. Had a couple of those at like 2 this morning, and like I can feel my jaw, like it's a thing, it exists, but it's not like objectively like mortal pain anymore, which is good. Yeah. The bit with the seals, that was gorgeous. Like seriously. And Sirika's ring, like okay. It's oak heartwood, right? Which the heart of one of the strongest, most sacred trees being used as a wedding ring that's a whole thing. Um and just the idea that it spent like obviously months carving the oak and owl motifs into that. Which that's another thing. Like in Britain, she's called Jenny. No one's called her anything connected to Owl since she got there. Like since the last time that any of her brothers were around. So like the name came from the Jenny Wren. That's like a really small, just kind of not insubstantial, but like just kind of a unique sort of critter. But Red's noted that she's like an owl a few times. Okay, alright. Fair. Fair. Forgot that somehow. But yeah, like just oh yeah. The similarities in language and stuff. That yeah, I did remember that. Yeah, like the whole wedding ring scene and just being able to run through the surf and especially after um a night of oh, there we go, a night of like being subjected to the gross commentary from some of the other people at the pre-wedding feast, I suppose. But however you would describe it. Between seeing the swan turducken monstrosity, which I get that as a culinary thing, that's like it's a feat that you've managed to create it, and like cool, you're able to do the thing. But also, why though? You know, it's like there's been a time or two when there's like turkey and chicken like present at once, and just that combination by itself is weird. You know? Yeah, combine it with like a bunch of other type birds and spices and stuff. It's like, why? Is it just, to say that you did the thing? But like, ugh. Turducken doesn't really sound delicious. It doesn't. Like, okay. I realize that my perception of the whole, like, the meat dishes thing is skewed and all that, because I don't. At this point, my bodily system is not happy when meat is introduced of any capacity. Like I tried fish a couple weeks ago, and not the best experience there. It takes a bit for someone to be like, nah, no, just give me the tofu. I'd rather just have that. Yeah. Um, but yeah. So like between that and all the Ash, hi, how are you doing? The show off gesture. Even the swan without the turducken does pure show off and possibly twisted symbolic thing because swans mate for life. Yeah. Oh. Oh. Ah. Okay. The wedding was supposed to take place on Botany, which is like a fertility ritual, generally. That's a thing. Um, and B, swans mate for life, and they decided to just, like, whack-a-mole a swan into a turducken monstrosity for a wedding feast. Oh, okay. Good to know. Good to know, yeah. Cerberus not scary. If Cerberus consisted of 3 swan heads, Cerberus would be terrifying. Yeah, I know. Cerberus by himself is like he's a cool little dude. Just he's a good work guy. Cerberus. I like that. God. Demented talking noise. There, Cerberus. Oh, too right. Seriously, uh, I mean, Cerberus, is just kind of is a chill guard puppy. With how territorial swans are, though, would they just end up fighting each other, or no? Have not heard of the Great Flamingo Uprising. Yeah, yeah. The true story of a zookeeper's most interesting day. And features swans. I'm sure it does. If there's any um anti-establishment bird activity, I would be very surprised if swans were not involved. Just because. Like, seriously. Very, very topical indeed, Ash. Very good. uh... Alright. Didn't know where to put it, so. It fits. It fits. I would say either Critter Friends or Shenanigans or something. Yeah, no. It fits with Critters. It definitely fits with Critters. Yeah. Good choice, Ash. My favorite stories on the internet. I look forward to reading it. I vaguely remember some mention of Rear Admiral Stabby, but can't say that I'm familiar with, with this. I think I remember some mention of that particular one from a Strange Aeons video a while back. Uh, but yeah. A bit of distraction when we're dealing with Richard the Asshole and his many sundry crimes. It's perfectly fine. Also, yeah, just generally tangents are fully welcome. Like, seriously. Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. There's a reason that we have characters a super creep as a trigger warning. Because Richard. It hasn't quite come into play exactly yet in the discussion time, but it is coming. Like the entirety of 12 and 13. It's been. Jeez. Edward from the Sparkle. That's the first time that I've heard someone call it that, and it's so accurate. The Sparkle Fires. Oh god. I refuse to call it by its name. It's not written well. It lasted 2 pages. From what I've seen, in the movies, yeah. But yeah, no, seriously, like compared to Richard, um, he's just like kind of weird and emo. Yeah, taken by himself, like yeah, basically yeah. Bella goes, my dad doesn't do anything for me. I am super impressed. Well, she just complains and literally says that her dad drives her everywhere. Yeah. Richard thinks the cake and the cake is a lie. One second. Uh. Sparkle fire. Oh, God. Yeah, no, it's one of those that I kinda want to read, or to try to read, rather. It, just to pick it apart. But also, it's one of those that, like, because of all the issues that I know about with it, and, like, the negative impact that it's had on, like, the residents of, like, Forks and surrounding areas and stuff, if I was to read it, it would be, like, a library copy, not, like, something that was purchased just because, like, objectively do not want to do the funds with the stuff and of course, compared to, like, Edward and this toxic weirdness, then we have stuff with, like, 50 Shades and 365 Days that are direct result fanfictions of that. So it could be worse than the original, but, like, also new. Yeah, no. You're good. You're good on the language, Ash. You're fine. The cake being alive is actually a decent plot description. Return to forest. Ah, come on. Close play. We rigged out scenes from Buffy from the Sparkle Fire movies. Oh, jeez. Twilight we enjoyed more before we were aware of how consensual work and abuse red flags. Yeah. 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 I can totally see that. Like, there's there's a number of um there's a number of books that I remember reading in high school that were predominantly or entirely, like, werewolf vampire shenanigan things, whether it's, like, historical or contemporary, whichever. Most, like, 90% of what I was reading was, like, historical, because romanticization of Celtic and Roman things and stuff, because, yeah. But, like, I remember there's certain scenes, particularly, in a lot of them, that made me uncomfy then, but, like, I'm pretty sure if I was reading it now, would be, like, more so, because, like, hey. But I don't remember which ones they were, so that's fun. I do remember though that I was kind of obsessed with Alice Borchardt for a while. So that's probably at least part of them. Like half of them, really. So yeah. Alright. The Buffy versus like the Sparklepires does kind of it brings to mind like one of the fan ideas that I saw for like if the end of Vampire Diaries happened before the end of Supernatural. Like, because there had already been a number of, like, crossovers and stuff. So there was an idea for, like, there to be some kind of crossover where the, the Supernatural guys, like Team Free Will, goes to wherever it is that the vampires are, and, that's the end of that show, then. What would Sarah do with him, Edward? Oh, now that is a question. Because like in that like with the stalker like weirdness stuff. Oh, jeez. Now, like honestly, I just have this image in my head of like because there's already two dedicated fan episodes in Supernatural. Like there's one where they go to a convention, and there's one where like Sam and Dean are there for a musical that's based on someone's fan fiction. So like I can just imagine someone deciding to create like a fan like experience thing and just make a bunch of like fake haunted houses, but like they become actually haunted or something. Yeah. Seen the first two seasons because my schedule didn't fit. Not seen the Vampire Diaries. Yeah, no, I haven't seen that at all, honestly. Um, I've seen the full 15. There's some episodes that like I will not watch again, like point blank. Um, and there's some that's just like, oh yes, this is a fun time. But yeah, there there's some good ones and there's some like really what were y'all doing ones. So yeah, which it's 15 seasons, so I'm not surprised at this point. There was a lot more like what is going on later in the thing, but yeah, you find a super cool short fanfic that I read ages ago. Hmm. Okay. Huh. That is an interesting concept right there. Yeah, I like that. That is cool. That is cool indeed. Especially after all the BS that her dad put him through. Oh, God. Alright. Okay. So. Where are we? As to, like, what Sarah can we do with an Edward? Because, like, that just adds a concept. Like, there, I don't know. I don't know on that one. Because, like, on the one hand, like, it depends on where she was at the time that that was happening, too. Yeah, there was a lot that it went the way of the dodo with the great Tumblr purge of 2017. Was that it? Yeah. Yeah, no. If we find it, we'll totally let you know. Oh jeez. Yeah, yeah, no worries. No worries at all. Distraction is appreciated, tangents are appreciated. Having a nice chat with you for a bit is appreciated. But yeah, you might need to go and use the sleep sash. Alright. See you later. See you later, bud. Yay, hugs! Alright. Sparkle fires. uh. Sparkle Pyre Universe. Subtitle: Brooding in the Forest. Uh, Alright. Sounds like Alright. And we're back. Okay. So. Actually, no. One sec. I seem to have run out of tissues. So, need to refill that. And I will be right back. And we're back. Okay. There we go. Contrary to this conversation, has made us want to listen to Twilight again. Good for falling asleep. Uh, uh, like it. Okay. Over the years, I've seen enough commentary videos and stuff about it, and about the whatever the version is from Edward's perspective. Which, like, okay, I have not read, keep that in mind, but the one from Edward's perspective is, like, so much creepier than, like, the one from Bella's perspective. Like, you would imagine, but, like, ah. Because you're just in the dude's head listening to him talk about how much he wants to eat people. Like, yeah, that's great. So great, yeah. But yeah, anyway. So, getting back to the shenanigans. Alright. So, We've got chapter 11 that's not entirely, obviously, because reasons. But is more or less kind of light and fluffy. Sort of. Sort of. If you would like, I can share the analysis links and stuff. Because, like, honestly, people talking about the books in an analytical fashion, and, like, the first two movies is, like, the entirety of my exposure to it. So, yeah. No, I did not. I did not say that chapter 11 was more or less a Fight Club. uh, chapter 11 is more or less kind of light and fluffy. It not entirely, obviously, but but more or less. Because, like, that's the chapter that we've got, the seals and the wedding, and there's, like, some interesting character development and character relationship development and stuff going on and whatnot. Especially compared to, like, 12 and 13. Jeez. It's like, da 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 da, let's go to the beach, and then we die. Huh. Yeah. That's great. Yep. Okay, one sec. Light and fluffy and common break. It is. It really is. Alright. So. I mean, if my phone would ever actually load to bring up my notes. Because apparently, like, Wi-Fi is a foreign concept today. So, there's that. Okay. So, we'll leave that over there to do what it's gonna do. So apparently I have to switch back and forth on the screens. So, yeah. So 11 opens on May Eve, or the Ultima. No. May Day is Beltane. Yeah, okay. Or Beltane, if you're reading it, like, phonetically, I suppose. But the generally, like, the general, like, pronunciation is Beltane. Of course, it also depends on where you are and what you're doing, too, because different regions have different names for things. So, 11 opens with May Eve. They're putting flowers above the doors, and well, one sec. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Interesting that Sorcha says you don't get married on Viltana if you want it to last. Yeah. Yeah. Which is interesting too, because I think that's the only instance that I've heard that. Like I've seen it in other stories where it's part of a wedding sort of thing. Wait a second. Let me just. If the computer machine is actually working, I can maybe do this. Maybe. And then that winds up applying to both Elena and herself. Yeah. Come on. Why are you not opening the thing? Thanks. Yeah, it's. Come on. Okay. So, it kind of makes sense. Nothing's wanting to open, so I can't check my analysis of the situation, really. But if you have, like, ow. Okay. So, like, traditionally speaking, traditionally speaking, it's like it's a fertility festival where the yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. It depends on where you were and like how strong the pagan influence was, or the traditional influence, I suppose, was in the area. But in order to ensure that um in order to ensure like the fertility of the fields and livestock and the people of your area, there was a particular practice where like it tended to be whoever was in power, so like the king generally, um or queen really, would have a marriage to the land, but it also happened on a more local level. So like the the lord of the estate would have like a symbolic marriage to the land, so that it's like the relationship between the caretakers of the space and the space itself, kind of. And it, again, it depends on location and the traditions being observed and all the rest of it. But excuse me, from what I remember, at least in most Celtic based areas, it was whoever was in power of the area who, like 98% of the time, was a dude because patriarchy, um, would fill one of the roles, and then there would be a stand-in for the other. So, like, for example, the lord of the place would be taking on the mantle of the lord of the god of fertility, or it depends on where you are as to who would be called in or invoked, or whatever phrasing that you'd like to apply to it, because again, local variations and things. And then there would be someone standing in for the role of like the Mother Earth, essentially. And here we've got Red, who is Lord of the Estate, marrying the daughter of the forest. And it's interesting too, because if it's between two like mortal humans on Beltane, it's seen as kind of a temporary thing, because like they were talking about even though they don't have like as many of the old practices in Britain at this time, as you see when Sorcha's talking about how stuff is in Ireland with putting flowers over the doorways and leaving milk out for the Fae and everything. There's still elements of it, like girls talking about how they'll, or who, I guess, they'll run off into the forest with the expectation that it wouldn't be a potentially long-term relationship at that point. It's a temporary event. And in a lot of the stories that I've seen, if there is a resulting pregnancy from one of the festival days, that's set into a different category than if you were found to be pregnant outside of that. Again, depending on where you are, it might still be like, you know, you have to marry this person or whatever. But at least in some areas, like, there was a practice of people just running into the forest and everyone was wearing masks and stuff, so that you couldn't necessarily tell who was who and stuff. In theory, at least. If it's a small town, like most of these were, and you grew up with all of these people, you can probably figure out who was who relatively easily, you know? Unless it was one of those times, like, people from the surrounding, like, 5 boroughs decided to show up to a thing, or whatever. So, for that, it would make sense, because if it's two just like regular human people, it's a temporary event. It's a temporary marriage. Because Sorcha is designated as the daughter of the forest, she's kind of been designated, stepped into the role of something, of the representative of, like, the forest, nature, the earth itself at that point. So her marrying Red would be like the equivalent of the Lord of the Estate marrying the land and all the people therein, as like a way to continue the prosperity of the place, but B, to ensure the relationship between the other world and the physical world. So there's that. Which also, uh, Sorcha has been likened to an owl, both by Tyrone Brothers um, and Red. And the owl is both like a kind of a symbol of wisdom and stuff, but it's also seen routinely as a symbol of um, the other world and transformation and uh, things like that. Yeah, if you know who the person is, a mask is not that effective a disguise. It's a major weakness in several stories once you realize it. Seriously. Seriously. Like, honestly? Okay. Most of Marvel that I've seen, at least, is relatively, like, you know, if you're gonna do a mask, like, there, it, there's very relatively little exposed of your face, you know? But, like, unless you're affecting a voice, anyone who knows you is gonna figure it out, and if they don't, that's kinda on them, you know? And then we go over to DC, and it's like, what even is the Superman disguise? Like, Batman, I get, you know? Like, there's like a full cowl and stuff, and there's a voice difference between Bruce Wayne and Batman. And I mean, the dude's like dramatic enough that he's just like hanging out in the dark all the time anyway, so alright, fine, whatever. But Superman, like, okay, I, Lois Lane works with Clark Kent. Like, they're coworkers, right? And he's supposed to be this, like, cool reporter guy. And she's supposed to be, like, this intelligent, um, reporter person who is, like, really intrigued by Superman and stuff. And from the sounds of it, they've been working together for a while, and she hasn't figured out that Superman and this like nerdy guy that she works with are the same dude. Even though she's been saved by Superman multiple times and sees Clark like every day. How? On top of the whole like spinny um phone booth changing room situation thing. Like, uh, I mean, at least they addressed like the weird change room voice thing. Um, like, cause major things, but yeah, it's like I can only suspend my disbelief so far. Like, there's a certain point where like this dude has is this guy's wearing spandex and took his glasses off, and you don't know it's the same guy because he put his glasses on and is wearing chinos. Like, if you don't know the people involved and you're just like walking past them, alright, fine. you can affect a certain set of mannerisms that makes you appear different. But like, if you're face to face with somebody for that extended period of time, like, either you have pronounced face blindness, which, okay, fair, but it's never addressed, or it's shoddy writing. Because, like, if you're trying to make me believe that this lady, who is supposed to be very intelligent and very observant because she's a reporter at a major newspaper and stuff, and doesn't have an extenuating medical condition that would, like, predispose certain observational things of one's features to not be in play. Um, I have a hard time believing that I don't know, you know. Perception check, critical fail. Exactly. Perception check, -2. Maybe it's an unprecedented superpower to bamboozle anyone with, like, the equivalent of -19 in their perception checks. Honestly, that right there would be kind of amazing as a thing. Like, uh, yeah, yeah. Um, oh, jeez. Alright, so, first, yeah. Oh yeah, with the seals and stuff. Getting back to Daughter of the Forest. Daughter of the Forest. Wow. Okay. I can wordy. Um. Sometimes I can even excel. When you make yourself crack up with stupid, like, nerd, like, tech support puzzles. That's a level right there. Don't know what kind of level, but it's a level. Um, but yeah, with the seals and stuff, I couldn't remember because, like, at that point I'd kind of recalled certain plot points and stuff, but I couldn't remember based on other facets of the storyline or, like, figure with that if they were gonna go the seal route or the sulky route. But from the sounds of it, she went with the merfolk this round instead of the sulky. Uh, Not to say that the seals aren't sulky, but usually it's one or the other. Um, Yeah, just the seals just chilling on the beach, and it being like the super special, awesome cove of amazingness that that Red took Simon to like years ago, and they were just hanging out, being bros, and just that whole scene is just kind of amazing. And you've got Red just sitting like and drawing out the figures for the farms and things, and doing a little sketch of Serica hanging out, and yeah, I think it's book 5 that's got a sea creature. Okay. Wait, there's more after 3? Because, like, when I was looking it up, like, I remember something about more than something something, but when I was looking it up today, okay, yeah, when I was looking it up today, it looked like there was, just the trilogy. Okay, that works. I'm down for that. In which case, as an addendum to the previous note about doing a read through of the trilogy, you want to do okay. You want to do all 6, or do you want to just do the first 3? Because like I'm down for whatever. But yeah, okay. So, uh, oh yeah. the In addition to the roast swan turducken monstrosity, um, like by that point, there's just people making like jokes about trying to poison Serica, which is a move. It's not a good move. It's a decidedly bad move, like totally bad for him. But it and like just okay. The idea that the only reason that someone who happens to be of childbearing potential, um, potentially at least, it was a funky sentence, whatever. The, the idea that the only reason that someone who is seen as being of childbearing potential could possibly be nauseous or wanting to avoid general company or throw up at particular intervals and whatever would obviously be because she's pregnant. Not because like stress or certain smells or literally anything else. No, just obviously suspected. Or poisoned. One of the two. Like, do y'all just never get sick? Like, sanitation isn't that great for y'all. How, you realize that someone could just be ill, right? That's a thing? It's a thing that exists in your reality, yeah? Come on, guys. Let's see how the first three go, and then maybe Terry Donnelly does reappear as a narrator in one of the books. Stars of Burn Survivor, so we'll have to see. Okay, yeah, no, totally. Totally get that. Let me know how y'all are doing with that. But yeah, no, I am totally down to at least go through the first three. Because, yeah, I know for a fact that I have not read the latter three. Because I didn't know they existed until relatively recently. I know, however, that I have read the Foundation books, so or the original trilogy, I suppose. So there's that. Yeah. Really shows how poisonous the atmosphere is against Sorcha. Yeah. Which really, if Red's gonna head off somewhere, the only way that he would be able to protect her in any capacity is with marriage. Because, like, then she's officially part of the ruling family of the estate. And, like, anything short of that, like, would not have worked. Like, point blank. On top of which, apparently, he's in love with her. At least, according to, what Lady Anne says, and there's certain scenes, certain actions and stuff that would support that. Yeah. It is interesting though, because like there's I forget which chapter it's in, but the idea that Elaine and Simon kind of thing is in love with her, and it's not just an enchantment. Yeah. And like meanwhile, she's over here freaking out that he's been enchanted and is only like wanting to hang out with her because of the magic and stuff. Like, I mean, there's some magic, but it's not the origin that you seem to think. It's like he thinks that you're cool. That's about it. Ah. But like the idea that Simon and Elaine had a thing, but Simon was the younger brother and wouldn't inherit the estate. So Richard, like, okay, let's bust this out for a second here. Like, Richard fully orchestrated Simon being abducted slash like ideally executed somewhere in a foreign country so that his daughter could marry him and was forced to marry Hugh instead. who's basically like a brother to her. And then when Hugh and Sorcha get married, he does like everything in his power to discredit her repeatedly and try and like, well, okay. The abduction was covering his own ass. Yeah, but it from from the description it sounded like he went on campaign to um he went on campaign with Simon and once, yeah, actually that makes more sense. Yeah. Okay. Went on campaign with Simon, and then when Simon kind of figured out what was going on, he ran to do something, or no, that, yeah, okay. He'd figured out what Richard was planning, so therefore Richard had him abducted, right? Because like Richard's whole like monologue of creepy bullshit that he was spouting, because, obviously Sorcha hasn't said anything during this whole long like list of times, so obviously she can't actually talk. So yeah, it's fine. I'll just reveal my entire evil plan to my prisoner, because that always goes well. There's never any logistical nightmares that come out of that, like, at all, right? Not a bit. Honestly, seriously, like that dude. Oh my god. It's like, and on top of everything else, right? He's so full of his own bullshit that whenever he's called on it, it's just like, what? No, that's not me. No, what? Huh? Simon figured out what Richard was doing. He tried to get back to Red to tell him and got abducted. Okay, yeah. Richard went after him, leaving the rest of his men alone to get killed in his absence, which makes us question how elite the force they were. Seriously, like, he's going on for like, what, 5 pages about how elite the fighting force was, and they all got mowed down and dismembered, from the description at least. Which, it being Richard, and him talking to Sorcha and intentionally trying to, like, freak her out and stuff. Talking about how, like, the guys were, like, fully annihilated. It's probably just, his way of saying, oh, they were all dead. So, yeah. But Richard's so full of his own bullshit, he probably really believes his presence would have prevented it. Yeah. Seriously, like, it, as a case study, right? I would almost argue that Richard has, like, successfully managed to gaslight himself into believing his own importance. I don't know. But, like, also, dude's a, like, complete ass. So. And, like, usually when I say that there's a character who's a complete ass, it's like, okay, there's some redeemable quality, you know? Like, as much as I like the character of Arthur in Merlin, at the outset of the show, Arthur is an ass. Point blank. But, like, a redeemable ass, you know? But, like, jeez. It's an interesting take on narcissism as self-gaslighting. Yeah. Okay, one sec. That's a few rows longer than I wanted. Yeah. So. Yeah. One moment. Experiencing technical difficulties of the flavor of just had to rip out a few rows because the section was too long. So Six Data super creep, it really is. Ah! Like, okay. Okay. My phone now recognizes super creep as a word. I mean, valid. Valid, honestly. Oh, also, just going back to like the super fun happy time for a second, because like then we have to dive into 2 chapters of Richard being a like massive jerk face to literally everybody. Like further, I mean. So, we'll take that down for a second. So, okay. Last week when I had like a little aha moment thing, right? It was this, because Elaine made no, that I'm on the wrong line of notes. Okay, Marjorie made Serica a fancy blue dress that has some detailed like embroidery, and it looks really cool and stuff, and it's really nice and fancy and whatever. And that's the only thing that she has available when she's asked to go on a ride with Red and Ben. And she's running through the surf in the dress as the water is kind of lapping at the base of the dress. And in the process, the dress becomes imbued with, anointed with, however you want to phrase it, the element of water. And then later in 13, there's a similar situation that happens with fire. And I don't remember when like the other two happen, but I remember there's a certain point where, because the dress has been subjected to all four elements, it becomes an object of immense power. So it's kind of like, I don't know that I would classify it under like a hero's journey sort of thing, but it's got that kind of vibe, and it's like the creation of a powerful artifact, and just yeah, cool times. Also, right, by the end of 13, we haven't seen if there's a thing that, like, is part of this or not. But, just, like, presenting an apple was seen as a proposal of marriage, or, yeah, especially in, like, Greece and stuff. But, the like, if someone was proposing in certain cultures and stuff, an apple was presented, and like there was an apple shared between Red and Sorcha, like before they left Ireland, and she's like, oh no, it's fine, like he's British, so like it doesn't really count, so like it's fine, it's cool. And before Red heads off to go find Simon, it's like, I'll bring you an apple. Like, the first apple of the autumn. It's like, alright. On the day that they're married, so, like, this dress that becomes, like, a dress of, like, it becomes an object of power and, like, an object of, like, a magical ability and stuff, is also her wedding dress. So it's got, like, that added into it. It's like, just as a thing. Alright. So, now, we'll put this, we'll put the Richard being a disgusting super creep ass back up. Good job picking up on the elements thing, keep it in mind for final chapters. Will do. Will do. I couldn't remember if, like, the latter two were part of the same one, or if it was in, like, one of the other, or one of the follow-ups. But I remember it being mentioned in one of the sequels, so, yeah. Alright, so, with Richard being a super creep, and all that, we've got discussions of fire in relation to Sorcha, and him constantly trying to what would the phrasing be? Re-traumatize? Trigger the least would probably be like get a reaction from, which Sorcha regarding like making comments about like assault and everything else. And yeah. So keep that in mind. What is the end of this thing? Here it is. But yeah. So 13 ends with kind of a setup for how spoiler, Shemeg said it isn't physically harmed by the fire. Yes, okay. That is a good point to put up there too. Yeah. In 12 it's discussions. In 13 it's the event itself, but she's not physically harmed by the fire itself. So keep that in mind. Just be aware that that's a thing. Yeah. So 11 ends with Richard being called in to judge the accusation against a man who's accused of assaulting one of the women in the village. Because ordinarily it would be Hugh presiding, but being that he disappeared to a family friend's farm somewhere because they needed help with things and stuff, because, you know, no one on the estate is at all suspicious by that. Which, in fairness, like, being that Richard seems to have spies literally everywhere, and as we find out later in the chapter, that's kind of how it is because he's working with Una. Then given an inch takes over, well, exactly. Like, just the idea that there's such a divide between people who've seemingly known each other for ever at this point, right? And like you've got the Hugh loyalists who seem like the more sane ones, right? Who aren't just objectively out for blood all the time. Like, really, that should be a clue right there that, like, the dude you're rooting for is kinda whack if he's just like, yes, we should kill everyone, haha. Like, What? But whatever. And that kind of sets the precedent because we've got a trial presided over by one dude and his secret band of thugs, essentially, who is not afraid to extract information by basically any way possible. And we already know that he's got it out for Sorcha. We don't know why at this point, just that he does. And there's like a potential reason in like he wanted Elaine to marry Hugh, and they didn't because he married Sorcha instead. So there's that. One sec. But in addition to everything else, right? There we go. Okay. In addition to all the rest of it, because Richard was cold, and because he's himself and has no concept of freaking boundaries in any capacity, or general human decency, or literally anything else, he's making everybody uncomfortable. And he keeps trying to find some way to either get Sorcha alone or like find fault with her in some capacity. And it's it's been a couple of months. No. 8 months. Yeah, it's been like a month and a half. Yeah, okay. Because at that point, like the festival days are about 6 weeks apart. So the distance between May Day and summer solstice, about 6 weeks. And when she was on the beach, her brother Connor, the one who can still retain some element of humanity, let her know that time was kind of the essence, and like they needed some. They needed the shirts to be done because like they couldn't hold on that much longer, right? And so Serica's trying to finish what she's working on, and being that everyone's trying to kind of leave her alone at this point, relatively relatively successful with that. And being that it's midsummer when the swans come to whatever neighboring body of water it is, and being that she told Connor how to find her, he shows up, and like he's the only one there because he's seemingly the strongest flyer because he's a druid and stuff. But the entire like household essentially is hanging out at the water, and like Ben's already like on high alert because he's got specific like orders to keep Serica safe, especially because Richard is himself, and like a whole lot of it. Serica should have used the telepathy to tell Connor, "I'm sorry, I can't get away and see you in person. We'll just have to talk this way." Right? Like, okay. I get that she misses her brother, and that, like, she hasn't been able to talk to him or give him a hug in, like, over a year at this point. But you can explain away just kind of zoning out a lot easier than, like, running all panicked into a tree coppice and being found by your well-meaning friend who was legitimately worried about you, and you're like homicidal asshole uncle-in-law who you already know is out to get you. Like, there's ways to work with that, you know? Like, guys. Guys, come on. Come on now. What are you doing? Also, what happened to the brothers' clothes? They returned to human form clothed back in Ireland. All I can figure for that is that they've been in bird form for... She's been in Britain for about a year. She was in hiding in Ireland for 2 about? So she's been working on this project for about 3 years, I want to say, give or take. And if um if like, okay, they say it's a total of about 3 years. Okay, all right. So if the state of the clothes is reflected in like the state of the feathers and stuff, there could be something with that. But he was the only one who was strong enough to make the trip multiple times, so his feathers would have to be in really good condition, especially to fly through presumably kind of a stormy time frame. And 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 over the sea, that would have been rough. Yeah, yeah. Like there's a reason that seabirds have very particular like plumage requirements and stuff, and have to do like very particular like um grooming protocols in order to continue functioning. Because if your flight feathers get all messed up, like, you can't do the bird thing, right? So, I don't know. Uh, yeah. And, I don't know. Unless it's like, okay. Short of saying, because magic! Because, like, that's a cop out and a half, and I'm not here for it. Because with that, it's like, well, technically, as a bird, he didn't have clothes, so it's like, it's metaphysical, but like, he transforms back and then he has clothes, so like, is it a state of mind that impacts what they're wearing? But like, doubt it. But also maybe, but like, no, probably not. I don't know. I don't know. Uh, but we've got like a thing where all I can figure for that that was a state of thought. Ratty clothes on Swan Dude is a state of plot. Yes, yes. Plot device. All I can figure for that is that during the last um time they were human. It'd be the winter solstice, yeah. Um, that they were running around, like, from what Connor was saying, they were running around frantic trying to figure out what happened to her because they went to the cave. And if they were running around just like, for lack of a better phrase, because swan dudes, running around like chickens with their heads cut off and all that, they might have like end up tearing up their outfits or something. Maybe they outgrew or somehow lost their clothes when they were last human. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because like that's the other thing too. You've got you've got 6 guys who are growing. At least some of them are still at regular human rates. They're just trapped in swan form. So upon like recalibrating to human people size and shape and all that, there's bound to be some stuff that they can't wear, can't do, whatever anymore. So, yeah. Still weak sauce, and Richard still would have tried the adultery charge if Connor was clothed. Yeah, no, he totally would. He totally would. Like, okay. I realize, like, just with the treason thing, right? I realize that, especially in that community where they've all been told repeatedly that, the circus people are the ones responsible for Simon's death, right? So they're all kind of primed to distrust anything from an Irish person. Everything is sex or death or power with that creep. It really is. It really, really is. Like, on top of which, okay, just leaving the previous thought bubble for a second, going with that. The number of times that he's interrogating, quote unquote, Sirica with his bullshit excuses and whatever, trying to get a rise out of her. He keeps saying that, like, he was too soft and, like, deep down, all, like, men are like him and is friends. Which, like, just as a thing, right? the idea that Richard legitimately believes that there's that many people, or that he has that many people in his vicinity who are that much like him. Jeez, man. The number of times he fantasizes at Sorcha in the guise of interrogation. Seriously. It's just like, can you be a massively creepy ass somewhere else, please? Presumably, like, not on this planet. Thanks. You know? There's not too many times when I'm like, hey, character, you wanna maybe jump off a cliff? But, like, this dude right here, like, you have earned the, go take a flying leap, response. And, you know, being that it's in a era where, you know, magical beings exist, and the daughter of the forest has been slighted multiple times, something tells me, the beings of the water, yeah, they're not gonna be too happy with whoever it is. That's why a lot of his men follow him, we think. Legitimizes and empowers their darkest impulses. Yeah. Yeah. Which, like, skipping forward a little bit, the idea that out of everyone that he's got on his payroll, there's only one dude who's at all seeming to question him, right? Like, just one guy out of all of them. Of course, also, if he's got people in his retinue that are Una's men, that are like from that one guy. What's his name? That one guy. There's one guy who's pretty amazing. Seriously. Just like, yeah, I mean, you're gonna die and stuff, but like, here, have some cheese and berries, cause like, seriously. You're like, cause, okay, the vibe that I'm getting from that guy is a real strong, like, I have kids this girl's age. Like, what are you doing? Like, yeah, she might have done some, like, weird stuff and all that and stuff, but, like, you're gonna... What? You're trying to, like, man a literal witch hunt against, like, a kid. Slash young woman, slash, you know. Age and time and things and whatnot. But yeah, seriously, there's and like, okay, as a thing, right? We've got Oh, yeah. Sidebar. With the whole, like, Simon Elaine thing, if Richard didn't see Simon as a viable match for Elaine, because he wouldn't inherit Harrowfield, and would just inherit, like, a small plot of land somewhere. What's the likelihood that he's the one who entirely, or at least, like, predominantly, was in Simon's ear telling him that no one really cared about him, and that his brother didn't want anything to do with him? Because from what I remember of, like, the chapters that we were, like, really interacting with Simon as a character, that's, like, firmly what he believed at the time. So, there's that. Okay. So, we find out with Richard's, supervillain rant monologue thing that, like, A, he doesn't see Sorcha as a threat. Yeah. I signed up to kill other men. I did not sign up for this. Exactly. Yeah, like, exactly. That. Also, side note, we now have a pocket. With the new way that I figured to do stuff. No. A little pocket. Alright. So, we've got, there we go. Yeah. So, Richard doesn't think that Sorcha's a threat because she can't talk. Says that he figured she had just chosen not to talk, but she's gone through so many things that, obviously, if she could, she would have said something. So therefore, blah blah blah, this is my evil plan. Which, there's a certain poetic justice in, like, him freaking out when she reveals that she can't actually talk. She was just choosing not to, and, like, well, I mean, whether the spell's broken or not now, there's nothing I can do, so screw it. Oh no, she knows all my secrets. Yeah, great job with your, like, dastardly deed, dude, seriously. Ow. And he's talking about all the run up to, like, doing everything, and Simon's abduction, and trying to, like, get his hands on Harrowfield because He's too weak to demand the place. Yep. Just further cementing his role as creepy bastard guy for the rest of time. And and we see the first instance of Richard alluding to Una. So the lady that Lord Collum, so Sorcha's dad, married after coming back from campaign, and also the lady who cursed her brothers to remain swans, right? So, like, which incidentally, she was noticing a lot of similarities between how things were at Harrowfield and how things were in Sevenwaters before she left. We stood on his own petard. Yay! We think super creep. Yay! Yes indeed. And she was noticing a lot of similarities between what was happening in Sevenwaters and what was happening in Harrowfield with general unease and the overall almost kind of miasma that would show up. And then we learn that Richard is not only working with Una, who he just knows as the lady with red hair, but he's getting execution materials from, what's his name? Eamon. So, Eamon of the Marshes, who we last saw mention of, because the brothers had been gone for an extended period of time with no word, and they just happened to disappear into the ether. Ailish was kind of forced to marry someone else. Eamon. So we've got Ailish, who just wanted to be happy and marry Liam. Liam, who is stuck as a swan at the moment, and real sad about everything because obviously. Eamon, who is either intentionally stepping out on Ailish or has just been brought under Una's spell like every other person, practically. Unless they're somehow able to resist her in which case, like, you're a liability and you should go die, you know? Or, like, just working with her of its own volition. So, we've got ash logs that are treated with some kind of chemical to make them burn hotter and not smoke. Which, for the purpose of a fire in which a person is going to be executed by, the only reason the only reason that you would ensure that it's a smokeless fire is so that the person doesn't have the potential to pass out from smoke inhalation before the fire itself. Making it so that that method of execution is the most brutal and most painful that it can possibly be. Which, going off the character traits of the people involved, not surprised at all. But yeah. There's that. And on top of which, the particular chemicals are supposed to make stuff have a green flame, which tells me that it's kind of got a phosphorus sort of composition to it, if I'm remembering my chemistry right. Also, so there's no less smoke to betray what's happening or location being used on campaign. Yeah, that's true too. Like, if you're using it purely as a like heating device, or as, you know, if you have like clay pots or something that you need to repair or you need to like fire, you could totally use it for that, and it would make it so that your position isn't revealed by smoke. But yeah, it's to make sure that whoever's subjected to it is in the most pain possible, and that you have the clearest view of the events unfolding, for lack of a better phrase. And the idea that when everything's set up and Circa's up there, there's a few people in the assembled group who are kind of on the fence, but no one wants to see it carried out. And then Richard is over here being his like usual self, and his men form a line in front of the people from the estate and the townsfolk and everyone, and start yelling the like negative stuff. and throwing rotten food and whatever. Like, also, I find it interesting, right? Like, Richard doesn't know and really doesn't care what Una's doing or what she's trying to do, any number of things, as long as he gets what he wants. So doesn't know what's going on when there's all these swans just landing in front of this girl that he's condemned to death. It's just like, well, she has a bunch of familiars. Ew, burn them all. Like, I realize that there's a whole need to know thing and all that, but like, if your main contact person who's telling you, like, hey, yeah, you need to stop this thing from happening, woo, yay. If you, if your main contact person is just like intentionally leaving out data that makes you just like be, oh no, why are there all these birds? I don't know. What's happening? It's like, I don't know. I don't know about that. Okay. So, also, just as a thing, right? Slight side note. Like, bonus points for Father Dominic actually being a decent human and trying to hold an actual, like, unbiased, trial in this whole shit show of a situation. Like, not sure if she told him or not, but either way, he doesn't care and is ready to seize on anything to get what he wants. Yeah, yeah. Which, like, he's so far into his own bullshit at this point that, like, he doesn't even recognize that Red has arrived on scene. So I'm not surprised that, like, he's still going hard for whatever is going on in his own head at this point. But like, yeah. Also, just as a thing, right? As a thing. On the premise that Richard doesn't know the stipulations that Una set out. Or that, like, well, no one would know that she's not allowed to talk about her story except for, like, Connor, because he's kind of deduced it, because it's Connor. And he would have told the rest of them at this point. But, like, I mean, kind of did initially, really. Like, between Connor and Finbar. But we've got Ben missing because he went to go find Red, obviously. Richard trying to fabricate evidence all over the place. Which, like, it's the same level of like bullshit shenanigans that you see in basically every other like actual like witch hunt situation of this person is accused of X, so therefore we're going to either intimidate people or drug people into saying that they saw something. Like that whole thing was the literal premise of the witch hunter episode in Merlin. Like there's a bunch of people that had like belladonna eye drops, so they were seeing like fairies and demons and shit everywhere. Which that's not how the belladonna works, but like we'll get into that at a later day. That's a whole thing unto itself. Yay for Father Dominic and for Lady Anne doing the right thing despite everything. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like there's some issues, but like they're they're good people. But like, okay. So Richard has a few of Una's men still. He's fabricating all kinds of evidence. Is dead set on executing her, regardless of anything else. So, like, even if by some chance she was found innocent, she'd probably just disappear from a cell somewhere and, like, oh, look, she ran away, so we have to hunt her down. Yay, okay, whatever. Yes. And at the same time, while arguing that, yes, Erica can, like, understand the language of the Britons. So like they're in Northumbria at this point. So northeast England, like right by the wall. Which incidentally, that's where Bambara is. It's the same region that Bambara was in, which is one of the reasons that I remember so much of it. And like Richard's trying to say that she's this like a master genius, like spy and colluding with foreigners to pass on state secrets and whatever. Well, sleeping with everybody and whatever else. Has consistently been seen to not be able, supposedly, to speak. Like, up to this point, Richard thinks that she physically cannot talk, which is the only reason why he let slip his whole, like, mutated master plan. And is trying to argue that her not talking to say something in her defense is proving her guilt. I realize this is just his MO at this point, but like, you realize how stupid you sound, right? Meanwhile, Dominic's over here like, just anything. Can you nod? Can you like, do you understand what we're saying? Uh-huh. Yeah, okay. So like these charges, right? They accurate? I mean, at least he's trying. I'll give him that. He's trying. But like, don't talk about your story. Don't share anything. Or your brothers will die horribly. Like, there are major holes in this story. Like, she can't talk, but it's over here giving information to the enemy, right? Like, um, have you have you developed telepathy now, sir? Because what? Like, even if you're doing sign, there's no sound. That's the point. If you're deaf or you're mute, you can do sign language. One of many sign languages. Even if it's not an official one. Like what they seem to have. Like, you know? And also, just as a thing, right? At this point, she's kind of figured out, yeah, they're not gonna believe me anyway, so whatever. But she can talk through gestures, like that's a thing. That's established as a thing. Mostly it's just Red who can understand her, and sometimes Ben, but like mostly just Red. Um, and Richard's over here like, oh yeah, no, it's fine. Like, they're never gonna find out that anything that I've done. Like, are you sure? Are you sure, sir? Are you sure? Because your plot seems to have some holes in it there. In both senses of the word plot. Really. Honestly, I think she could have said the charges were false without her story. Why they're false, no, but that they were false. Yeah, at that point, it's like, she could refute it, but she wouldn't be able to explain why. Which Richard would take as probably more of a reason that she's guilty. Haha! Like, even though that makes literally no sense. But there we go. Yeah. I don't know. Don't know. Mm. Yes. But yeah. It's seriously, the level of mental gymnastics that has to be employed with the level of objective bullshit that Richard is trying to spew all over literally everybody is kind of astounding. You know? Just, like, really. Um, Okay. And it is interesting though, because there's a scene where Sorcha is in the holding room, whatever you want to call it, before being brought out, and she gets a vision. She gets a vision from the Lady of the Forest of her kids, like her prospective kids and stuff, and starts breaking down because, like, well, it's not gonna happen now. And the 2, 3 kids that she's got hanging out. We're really glad he's caught and will presumably get his comeuppance. Yeah, seriously. Um, huh. Just had a thought. Right. So, Sorcha's wearing what was her wedding dress, right? Red jumps in to save her before the entire, like, platform goes up. So, like, I realize that they have, like, a lot of issues to work through in the intervening period and stuff. But, like, the marriage literally survived a trial by fire. Like, a literal trial by fire. Interesting there. So, there's 6 brothers, so she needed to make 6 shirts, so each of them could have a shirt. And the magic wouldn't activate until all 6 were wearing the shirts, and they had to all be handed out at the same time in the same place. So, 5 of the shirts were fully done. 1 was missing a sleeve. And it ended up being that the last shirt that she had was the one missing a sleeve, and the slowest swan, presumably Finbar, because he's consistently not had that great of a flight ability, ended up with that one. No. The chapter ends with Red saving Sorcha, and the 5 swans have the shirts, and the other shirt has been ripped from her hands, and it got carried away by the wind. And right about that point, she notices that there's a glint of like metal. Wow, words. Okay. A glint of shiny. Yeah, no. Uh-huh. Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. Like, that, honestly, when I said, like, I remember certain points from the start of 14, that's what I remember. Like, right there, you can, it's fine. um, but she sees, like, this glint of metal up in one of the windows, and notices that it's pointing at Red, who's like trying to get to her. So she's put the shirts on the 5 swans. The wind picks up the 6th one, and she has to be the one to put it on the swans. It can't be anyone else. So, like, A, if she waits any longer, Red's gonna die. And B, it's like she's on a thing. She's gonna die, like, imminently. Like, the shirts are gone. The one swan's just refusing to land, so it wouldn't have worked anyway. So, like, fine, whatever. But also, at that point, the only thing in her head fully, like, that she's conscious of, is like, Red is in danger, I have to warn him. So, like, for the first time in, like, 3 years, breaks this, like, desperate silence that she's held through all kinds of pain and torture and stuff. And, like, emotional, physical, everything. And just kind of yells out, like, uh, Red, behind you! Like, look out, or whatever the actual phrase was. And he turns and gets an arrow in the shoulder instead of, like, the back of the head or, like, spine or whatever. Rips it out, jumps on the pyre, and cuts her loose. And, well, is that before or after he punches Richard in the face? So I can't remember. But yeah, yeah. Punches Richard in the face and then jumps on the thing to get Sorcha, if I'm remembering right. And then jumps back down because the thing just went up in flames. And it cuts to, like, the last scene in the chapter is the logs fully ignite. You see the smokeless, like, green flames going, and it's reflecting the green light on the archer, who's now visible, and Richard, who looks like a demented angry boar over in the corner there. So, there's that. And so when it picks up in 14, we'll find out what happened with the swans and proceeding, following, there we go, proceeding is before, following, the following events, and all of that there. Yeah. So if I'm remembering right, it's 16 chapters, maybe? If it opens, so I can look at the stats. Because right now it's like, hey, do I want to load? Maybe not. Oh, come on, dude. Yeah. Okay. So So for next week, it'd be 14 to the end. So if you're on audio, it'd be about 4 hours. Just under 4 hours. Or maybe longer, depending on what speed you have it set at. Because, like, right now I have it on 120, and it's general, like, talking speed for me, so. Alright. So there's that. Yeah. Yeah. Alright. So, before we. Just take that down there. I think Son of Shadows is book 2. Sounds right. Yeah. Because if I'm remembering right, because I know one of them follows Johnny, but I can't remember if it's Son of Shadows or the third one. But I think it's 2. Or at least has Johnny as one of the main guys. There we go. Yeah. Alright. Well, yeah. It's a fun time. Yeah. So, any parting thoughts or what have you before we head off for tonight? Or no? Nope, we covered it. Okay. Fabulous. Alright. So, there's that. Yeah. But I think the last. Yeah, it must have been high school that I last read this. It's like, seriously. Alright. So, in that case, I will let you go. Do whatever it is that you're gonna do with the evening. Hope it's a good one. And yeah. Have a fabulous rest of your day. Rest of your couple days, really. And we'll see you back here on Thursday, around about the same time and stuff. Have a good night. See you later. Ow. So I'm just whacking myself in the face. Night. Wow. Okay. I had a brain fart with the signs. 1 second. There we go. don't know what my hands were trying to do before. See y'all later. Bye, everybody. If you're watching this on YouTube, remember that everything is in the link. Is linked in the description below. There we go. Alright. Bye, y'all. I apparently need the foods and stuff. Maybe the sleeps too, I don't know. But definitely the foods. Anyway. See you later, everybody. Bye.